coming up on The Source.
But it's a deep-rooted issue.
Yeah.
The issue is more than just saying put your guns down. We have to go after the people who bring the guns in.
That money they got from council was used to pay themselves to give that stuff out to the public.
Is they probably figured out that they will not be held accountable for whatever they did. So let's do something, and so we can keep this money and keep rolling.
But yet the local government, who's having a lot of issues when it comes to public safety, homelessness, just different issues with public works, and they're strapped for money for that, somehow, some way, found a need to take taxpayer dollars and put it towards a racist statute.
Good evening, this is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
And welcome to The Source. Many of you may be saying, my gracious, you all don't have your jackets on. You're not in that professional news zone today. Today, E. Zion Fair is celebrating it's closing up its homecoming for the weekend. And I asked Kobe to join us for our festivities. And as a community person, he's everywhere. So we both are wearing E. Zion Fair homecoming shirts. E. Zion Fair is 103 years old, founded in 1919. So for those of you who are still around, who wants to come and be a part of the carnival today, we had several events and activities that had happened this week. We had a fashion show, we had a basketball game, and today we're having our carnival here at the church, 1400 B Street. It is free to the public. You can certainly still come and enjoy the festivities. So that's all I really wanted to say. I want to make sure they understood that we're dressed down, and I feel bad because Shanae is not with us today, and she can't get the free T-shirt to be able to say she was a part of the homecoming, but she is serving our country. Yes. That's why she's not with us on today. Well, it seems like, Brother Kobe, that things have died down a little bit with the violence and the crime in the city. We have not gotten a report, but it does seem like there have been, know.
There's been no reports of shootings this week, which again, I'm very thankful for in Delaware and Wilmington. But I do want to bring up one point real quick. Earlier this week, a rapper known by the name of Takeoff was gunned down in Houston, Texas. Yeah. This is only a few weeks after Philly-based rapper P&B Rock was also gunned down in L.A. This gun violence that is going on, whether it's in our city or anywhere across the nation, it is hurting our community, and it's traumatizing our community. And for me, just again seeing another young, black, talented young man, life cut short at 28 years old, that really hits home for me. I'm only 27, and at the end of the day, black men deserve to grow old. Yeah. This gun violence has to stop. We have to put down the guns, and Takeoff, as more and more stuff comes out about that situation. He was hit. He was a bystander. It was a confrontation going on between his uncle Quavo and a few other people while they were shooting dice. But again, this is what has to change in our community. We are losing way too many young, talented black men to gun violence right now in America. And all I have to say is let's put down the guns and start loving one another. Yeah,
and Kobe, that the right sermon, but oftentimes we're preaching to the choir. The issue with the gun violence and the violence period in our community, I've heard people in our city and those who are African American blame the community for the violence that is there. but it's a deep-rooted issue.
Yeah.
The issue is more than just saying put your guns down. We have to go after the people who bring the guns in. You know, I was talking with someone in the office. I said, when I was being raised, the worst thing that can happen is you get a busted lip, or they didn't even use knives as much. They just fought with their hands. We knew how to fight. We were taught to fight with our hands. But now this stuff is coming into our community where it's like you're loading up the community, young brothers and sisters now, with these guns and drugs, which forms their gangs, and then the other folks will say quickly, look at them killing themselves. But who's bringing this stuff into our community? That has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed by the political figures who may even know who's doing it. You know, the police department has to address this. So I hear you. You are absolutely correct. The right sermon, as I said, but I just really do believe that we have to get to the root of the problem. I don't think my brothers and sisters would kill each other if they were not equipped to do it based on what was given to them.
I agree 100%. So, you know, we have a lot of work to do in our community. It starts by us working with one another.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. So that I just want to always make sure I bring that to the front. But we are grateful. We are grateful, and we're thankful that the violence is down right now, and I hope it stay down.
Right.
You know, it doesn't do me any good to be able to report that things have happened. And you are absolutely right, being a 27-year-old brother, and then you have people who are even younger than you who are dying. And I preach a lot of funerals here at East Zion Fair and other places for those who have lost their lives senselessly. And I'm just hopeful, like you are, that this is going to be a continue. But I do still want to see the report.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to stand on that one. Also, it seemed like you must be some kind of prophet or somebody sent from God, because last week you reported on something that I was sitting, because I just wanted to say what's going on with 8th and Adams Street, and I just wanted to just, you know, pretty much get an update of where they are. I happened to go drive by. I'm going to take the camera people by next week. And I saw the owner. He did not respond to me. He asked me who I was. I said, I'm a reporter. And then he immediately said, I'm not talking to reporters. You can talk to our lawyer. But he was over there when I drove by, or drove over just to see what was going on. And it seemed like they cleaned up the place, so he must be doing some work over there. But you reported last week about the $13,000 that was given to, what's the name of that organization?
Nemours Foundation.
Nemours Foundation, and that it was basically to buy their own products or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And when you reported, I was like, okay, well, I don't know anything about that, but we need to make sure that we hold them accountable. And then here in the paper just this week, right dead smack in the center, they have done an investigation, which means some other people might be looking at our show too. I'm kind of grateful about that. But tell me what's going on with this?
Yeah. So again, what happened with North Adams has completely destabilized the lives of 27 different families, right? And some of those families were relocated to the Hope Center in Newcastle, thanks to Newcastle County for stepping up to help with that. And then the rest were located to motels.
Right.
From that, City Council took the steps to pass a grant resolution allotting $13,500 to Nemours Foundation. Now, this money was supposed to go to help with storage, supplies, and they were supposed to be the middleman to get the money to the people for the resources and the supplies that those people needed. Now, what they thought the people needed versus what the people actually needed were two different things. They had branded Nemours water bottles, first aid kits, and not the actual big first aid kits. It was the ones that have a few Band-Aids in it.
Yeah, travel size.
Some Lysol wipes, not Lysol, Perel wipes, and stuff like that. But that was it, right? And then they got these stuffed suitcases that had just all this stuff in it, right? And Nemours is saying they spent $9,800 $54 on these stuffed suitcases, where most of the stuff, the itemized list of how the grant was spent that was sent back to council and that Delaware Online got a copy of, you see that most of the stuff was in-kind stuff, right? So they didn't actually have to go out and buy anything with that money. Council, in retrospect, that money they got from council was used to pay themselves to give that stuff out to the public. Stuff that they would have been given out for free if it was a tabling event or a parade or something, right? So, it's just very concerning that the needs of our residents aren't really being met after what happened to them was because of city council and the mayor's administration enabling them with the blight bill, right? This all stems from that.
Yeah.
So then us taxpayers here in the city of Wilmington, nearly $10,000 of our money went to branded stuff from a company already.
Yeah, and
that doesn't make sense.
And their report, and you always correct me because I sometimes don't have the right facts, but their report indicated that it was for 27 residents, but it ended up only being for 14.
Right, because by the time they actually got the stuff out, because it took months and months and months of them slow walking this process, some of the residents had already been replaced and rebuilding their lives.
How many of them that you're aware of, and I know you're not the expert in this, but how many of them that you're aware of, they paid the storage fees?
Well, so we had a different group pay the storage fees the first 3 months. They came in at the end of last month to pay 3 more months. But it's a difference. It's not for everyone now.
Right.
They only had to pay the storage fees for 8 units instead of I think it was originally 16 or 17 units there. The other families have now moved out. They either just went on and moved their stuff because they didn't want to wait until the last day and lose all their stuff.
Absolutely.
Or they've been replaced.
Yeah. It's really sad. Even the distribution of what they were giving them, stuff that they would normally have. Did they not have a committee or something to be able to say, hey, they need water, they need gift certificates to restaurants so they can eat because they have no kitchen?
Correct.
No one they didn't have any kind of cognizance of that?
Nope. I think, whenever you have something like this, you have to realize just because you have a roof over your head does not mean you're not homeless.
Absolutely.
And these people are dealing with homeless because, one, when you can't cook a hot meal every single day, that affects your health, right? You're either going out eating fast food, which costs money, or you're not eating, which causes even more damages to your body. This is what they're dealing with right now, right? They have very limited space. So it's not like you can bring multiple trays of food for people because they have a small fridge, right? It's only going to be good a few days.
Absolutely.
And those fridges don't get real cold like they should be to store food long time. So that's what you're dealing with. And for Nemours to kind of miss that, it's sad. Nemours Foundation to not understand the health impact it could have on people.
Right.
It is sad. Overall, I think, giving them, 2 bars of soap.
I saw that Dow. Yeah.
2 bars of soap,
Yeah.
a water canteen, that's not good enough.
But think about it, 2 bars of soap in a hotel where soap is provided.
Correct.
What was the purpose
And
of
an umbrella.
What I think has happened is they probably figured out that they will not be held accountable for whatever they did. So let's do something, and so we can keep this money and keep rolling. Because a lot of the good old boys club is always at work and a lot of things that's happening.
And I just want to point out one last thing, that the when they did finally pay for the storage for the 8 units to continue to be their stuff to be housed there, it was already overdue. Like the storage company was trying to be nice at that point and not take these people's stuff away. Nemours came in a month late and finally did it after a lot of pressure.
And how many units was that?
8.
Wow.
Other people had just gone on to move their stuff because they were wary it wasn't going to get done.
And I want to give a little bit of credit to City Councilwoman Michelle Harley, who said even in the paper that they will be held accountable. Could you help me to understand, because I haven't had a chance to talk with her, but how will she hold them accountable?
Yeah, so they do have to report back. I think they will be following up and looking how they can best rectify this situation. It is up to council what they want to do next steps. I'm not a member of council. So I don't know what exactly next steps they are willing to take. Again, it has to be a majority council. But this is in her district, and I know Michelle is Councilwoman Harley. When she sets her mind to something,
Yeah, yeah. She's a DuPont.
she will make sure every rock is unturned in trying to get that done to the best of her power. So if she has said that, I believe that she will do her best.
Well, she did indicate that in the paper.
Yeah, she will do her best to get to the bottom of it.
And I hope that she does. And if she finds that there are some roadblocks, that she share it with the public, because it's the public that needs to know this. Because even though 8th and Adams happened, it may happen other places. This should have been the model to how we're going to respond in the future for those individuals who find themselves with slumlords or whatever, to no fault of their own. And if we don't learn from this one, we're going to end up having the exact same problem over and over again. So that's why I asked you, what could she do? But I hope that her ability to be able to recognize that this is wrong and these are steps that we need to take, and I hope the council support her as well as the administration so there won't be no issues in the future. Is there anything else we want to report on that one?
No, not as of right now. We're just going to continue to follow the situation and continue to work with the families
Yeah,
who've been impacted.
and please keep us posted, because I'm glad that you are staying in touch with some of them, and I think it's kind of critical for the time that we're in right now. One last thing I do want to touch on in this first segment of our show is this. It was something in the paper this week that I did want to make sure that we brought up, and that is this whole triple-demic virus situation that's going on, the RSV as well as the COVID as well as flu. And it talks about how they were able to kind of combat most of the viruses with COVID because we were so overprotected, and we did. But now that that's kind of like gone, we're getting hit double, and it's happening with our young people. Do you have any more information on that?
Yeah, so, right now we are still dealing with COVID. It is also flu season, but the third piece of it is RSV. And RSV is an upper respiratory infection. It's very common in children, right? Especially 0 to 3 age range, right? Those newborns to 3 years old. And, it's primarily going to cause a lot of coughing, a lot of wheezing, sneezing, and labored breathing, right? Between all three of those, right, we were able to control some of it, right? Mainly because COVID was on the rise. We were wearing masks. We were very protective. There are vaccines for COVID and for the flu, and I can't stress enough to make sure you're boosted up and you have your flu shot. It is going to be a very rough winter this year, right? There is already another spike in COVID happening already, and we're only in fall, right? 400 people are still dying a day from COVID,
which is
unbelievable. Which is unbelievable. And then for our infants, right, our babies who are not as protected as we are, right? We can control our own a little bit better. We can make sure we're wearing a mask. They're infants, they're babies. They're also, they're open to catching RSV, which has seen a spike among babies in 2022. Even my goddaughter had RSV, and she was hospitalized for 2 weeks almost. Wow. Hospitals are filling up. I know there was a lot of, when she was in there was a lot of other babies in there around the same age that in that 1 year gap that was in the hospital at that time. And from talks we had with AI DuPont, it's been continuous over these last few months. And they're seeing it all across the country at CHOP and everywhere. So just please, please, please be very vigilant. Make sure you're keeping good health, good space. And if you are feeling bad, just own up to it. Don't go out into spaces. All these, you want to isolate for a little bit. so that you're not spreading it as well.
Yeah, but the problem is, I think too, we don't need to act as if COVID is really over totally.
Correct.
We're really operating as if there is no more COVID, and like you said, 400 people a day are dying of COVID. But one of the things I noticed, like for the first time in my life, I got a flu shot. My doctor said to me as I'm finishing up my physical, he said, Curry, I know that you are not used to getting the flu shot. You need to consider it, given the fact that now the COVID is down a little bit, it's going to be the virus is going to be a little bit stronger. So I did it, and I've been feeling good. To be very honest with you, I've not had my normal once a year, twice a year I get a good flu, and then I'm all right. But it's been very good for me. So I'm hoping for those of you who are not desiring to get your flu shot, you should try to do it. And not only that, but you should also mask up when you're in public spaces, enclosed spaces rather, so that you won't find yourself catching these various viruses and things of that nature. I'm just concerned and scared a little bit that we're going to find ourselves with some things that's going to be worse than COVID if we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I can't go through another shutdown again. And listen, we are still recovering. We're still trying to build back from 2020 and the impacts it had. We're seeing the impacts it just had on our education system. And we're going to feel that for generations to come. So yeah, please get vaccinated. And make sure you're still wearing a mask as best as possible, especially if you're going to be in a big group of people. Yeah,
we do have a clip that I want to show real quickly, and then we'll come back and we'll just finalize this one section of it. Just look at this.
The COVID pandemic has been suppressing respiratory viruses for the past 2 years, but this year they're back and they're causing more hospitalizations. Healthcare providers are reporting an uptick in respiratory viruses this year. We're seeing some rise in COVID cases. We're seeing that initial uptick of flu cases, but what's really hitting hospitals hard right now is RSV. RSV is respiratory syncytial virus. It's basically a respiratory virus that infects the airways and can potentially go into the lungs and in some severe cases cause pneumonia or bronchiolitis. It usually causes symptoms like the common cold, and it usually resolves at home with some supportive care. But this year we're seeing more severe infections in RSV, particularly in really young children. The concern really is that we're overwhelming hospitals and using a lot of resources for this one virus when, we're at the time of year where multiple viruses circulate. The triple-demic that people are describing is a surge in COVID cases, a surge in influenza cases, and a surge in RSV cases. But it's really just RSV that's the main concern for children right now. I've been reporting about twin-demics for the past 2 years, and they never happen. I'm not saying that triple-demic won't happen, but health experts say we're just not there yet. RSV does not have a vaccine. It does not have antivirals. And so good hand hygiene is really the number one thing that experts say will help prevent RSV. Even when your child is hospitalized, which is, obviously the worst nightmare in the world, most children recover from RSV and recover pretty quickly. There are other respiratory viruses that are preventable through vaccines, like the flu and COVID-19. The bivalent booster is available for children 5 and up, and flu vaccines are available for anyone 6 months and up.
So that clip we just showed was really just to give people some information on the whole RSV. As well as the flu and the COVID as well. But we want to reemphasize, if you have not gotten the flu shot, why don't you go ahead and get it done and mask up. Try to make sure you're protecting yourself first, and then you can help protect others. I think that will help us a whole lot. Anything else you want to share on that?
Yeah, no, that's all I have on this. And again, as we continue to go forward, just be healthy.
Yeah, be healthy. Yeah,
be healthy.
Be healthy. Nothing else. We'll be right back.
New guest. New conversations, new stories, every Sunday at 11 a.m. Grab your cup of coffee and tune in with Dr. Curry for our weekly episodes of Coffee with Curry.
Tune in at 8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing E. Zion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
News all across the nation. Wilmington's latest headlines. Advocating for change in the community with Dr. C.T. Curry, Kobe Owens, and Shanae Darby. Tune in to The Source every Sunday at 5 p.m.
And we're back. Well, it's that time of the show where we can talk about the Kobe Corner. So what's going on in Kobe's world?
Yes. So it was an amazing Halloween weekend. Rolling in from DSU's homecoming to Halloween on Monday. We did a haunted house at the POW where we had over 300 kids come out, and we turned the entire second floor of the building into the haunted house. I don't know who had more fun, the kids or the staff who got to scare the kids, but it was an amazing time. We had kids, we had babies all the way to teenagers there, and it was just good, safe fun for everyone. You know, it's been such a rocky year this year, especially with the violence on the streets in Wilmington. It was good to see so many kids just come out and their parents not have to worry about, what's going on. Right. So that was very fun. But I want to talk about my favorite holiday is coming up. Thanksgiving. But it may look a little different this year for some people. Why? Supply chain issues is still going on throughout America right now. And, the main dish, well, I think the main dish, some people may not like turkey, but I think turkey is the centerpiece to Thanksgiving. If you do find turkeys, they're going to be higher priced than ever before. You're paying more per pound than ever before. And then two, there's just a shortage of turkeys. And this goes all the way back to when producers started to cut back on raising turkeys back in 2019 after the prices crashed, right? And there was some restructuring thanks to the federal government that led to that. So they cut back a little bit, and then the pandemic hit. This pandemic that we keep talking about, we talked about it in the last segment, the pandemic has not helped with supply chain issues. Right. They're still struggling to get back to their normal workforce, but they're paying a lot more to feed, for labor, more for fuel just to transport the turkeys. And, all that is just very scarce right now, which is going to lead to, Thanksgiving dinner looking a little different, smaller turkeys, different sides. It's also affecting things such as ingredients for mac and cheese, potato delivery, and all the good things that make
Thanksgiving I don't mean to cut you off, but let me just say this to you. You must not go to the African-American dinners on Thanksgiving, because let me tell you something. Now, I don't care if macaroni cheese ingredients cost $10 million.
Oh, they're going to be there.
It's going to be what we put in it.
Exactly.
And same with but on a turkey, you're right. It's a little bit large, a little bit smaller probably, and a lot more
we
money.
have a big family, so we need a lot of turkey. We need a lot of mac and cheese.
But when you start talking, even though I was joking with someone the other day. I said, the prices is just out of control. I don't know how people are going to do Thanksgiving. And one person was joking, said, I have to find somebody with some food stamps because I got to make sure everything that I do for Thanksgiving is done the way we always do it. That is one of the celebrated holidays that we have. And you're absolutely right. The food chain is so messed up right now, and everything is much higher. I hope and trust that people will be able to do something to help with their the costs.
And again, I know there's a historical backing to Thanksgiving, but for me, it's a time to be with my family, with my friends, and break bread with them. An opportunity just to laugh, to cherish those moments, watch some football. I haven't even looked at the schedule for this year. But all I know is my Eagles are undefeated
Hello.
still.
7-0. 7-0.
So hopefully 8-0 by the time the
they
show
air, yeah,
airs.
that's right, yeah.
Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
But continuing. To keep that traditions going, and welcome new people around the table as well too, especially since we've lost so many over the last few years. So they're saying that this Thanksgiving is going to be even more people are going to be back on the road traveling and not just staying in their own homes. So hopefully that means you get to see family and friends you haven't seen in a while. Again, get to share that meal with them.
Yeah, and I'm going to wait one more year before we go back to New York, because every year since Ashley's been born, we go to New York for the parade, and then we come home for our dinner. But I'm going to wait one more year because I'm still not that comfortable. Also, do you know anything about Norman's turkey giveaway, just for those who may be struggling and need some support? Is it only for seniors, or is it for...
It's for seniors this year. This is the 40th year. Again, because of supply chain issues, there's not as many turkeys coming in to be donated. So they are focusing on the seniors to make sure they get all those people done in the high rises. But yes, this is year 40 for Norman.
Excellent.
40 years of giving back to the community.
Excellent.
At one point, it was the largest turkey giveaway in the nation. And he was nationally recognized through the Jefferson Awards for that. It's a chaotic day. Let me just say that. It's a chaotic day, but it's a very fun day. I've been a part of it for the last 15, 16 years. From when I was little to when I, was in high school. I got my school involved with coming in and joining in, and then I was there when they expanded it statewide to all the Boys and Girls Clubs as well, too. So we would follow that turkey all the way down to Laurel and Georgetown, and then work our way back up and finish off with a big celebration here in the city of Wilmington after hitting all the high rises. So it's always a fun day, but it's also a very meaningful day, especially getting to see the smiles on people's faces.
Well, great, and I'm glad it was able to survive 40 years.
Yeah.
That is just awesome. And hats off to Brother Norman Oliver, who has done this in this community and have made a great impact. So we appreciate that.
Yes, he has. Next up, I have Georgetown. Again, I'm not too liked down there because I speak truth to power. And when the council decided to continue to fund the Confederate monument and the Confederate flag being waved down there, I spoke out. And I spoke out. I spoke from my heart. And I made it very clear that by y'all's vote, and it's not the full council, it's not the mayor, it's 3 members, they have the majority. They are voting to uphold white supremacy in Georgetown. And from that, they have, pushed back, said that they're not racist, they're not white supremacists, they're not Klansmen. But that's exactly what you are.
Absolutely.
You're funding them, right?
Absolutely.
You're funding the Sons of the Confederacy. But next Thursday, after the election, is Returns Day. It's a tradition that has been going since 1792. That's when the first Return Day happened. And what it is, it's people who run against each other in the electoral world literally bury a hatchet, saying that, okay, now that the election's over, we're going to come together and we're going to work together. Well, they still do the tradition. Do the 2 candidates usually come together and work together? Absolutely not, because things have been so polarizing lately. But it's still a fun celebration. And a part of that is the museum that flies this flag, the Marvell Museum, provides the carriages. So I have joined the NAACP in calling for people not to ride in those carriages, not to be a part of that. That if you want to be in a parade, walk or get your own car. Do not get a rental car, a rental convertible from the Chevy dealership down there, because the manager of it is one of the council people who voted for this. Because trust me, when I go and organize, I do all my research and find out where everyone is connected at. But if they want to uphold white supremacy, we shouldn't be putting any dollars into them.
I agree.
And, we're going to continue to push for that, and we're going to continue to boycott that area when it comes to putting our dollars into that area. So the state has already completely stopped all funding going to that museum. The JFC chair made that known back in 2019 that he wasn't going to put any money as long as he was chair into that museum. The federal government does not put any money into that museum, but yet the local government, who's having a lot of issues when it comes to public safety, homelessness, just different issues with public works, and they're scrapped for money for that, somehow, some way, found a need to take taxpayer dollars and put it towards a racist statue.
You know, what often bothers me, and I'm going to be very straight with you, is that when people don't understand your journey, and then you try to explain to them your journey, and then they say it doesn't matter to me, and their final words is, I'm not racist, that's a bold-faced lie.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, but let me just be very straight with you. There is no way in the world can they say they are not racist,
Right.
understanding what Confederacy is all about. And if they're funding it, then, you know, we may not be able to remove the persons, but I agree with your style. Let's just make sure we're not putting any monies. What is the name of that Chevy dealership?
I do not know the name of it. It's the only Chevy dealership down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to find out, and we're going to make sure that we don't even let a part come to Wilmington that we know about, and or we're going to boycott the people who support them in any kind of way. Because at some point we have to hit it where it hurts, and that's in the pockets.
Yes.
And I'm just not happy. And when you said to me that they said they're not, now they're going too far.
Yeah.
Because you are what you are.
Right, exactly.
I'm gonna let you go. Go ahead.
Exactly. So going over to today is the last day of early voting,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is our first general election with early voting. I have been up and down the state these last, I don't know how many weekends, talking with different faith leaders, talking with different communities, encouraging, doing teachings about the benefits of voting early, and we are seeing it pay off. I've been down in Sussex and Kent the most, because I know there's a good network up here in Newcastle. We're capping it off today with a Souls to the Polls. So come on out if you haven't early voted. We will be at the Shipyard Shops, 912 Jefferson Street in Wilmington, Delaware, down at the riverfront. But there's other locations as well too. But I just want to say, 17,000 people have voted early voting
Oh, that's
so
excellent
far.
for Delaware.
That is excellent, especially since it's its first time, right? And 5,607 have voted in Newcastle County, 2,689 have voted in Kent County, and 9,079 have voted in Sussex County.
That's excellent.
And those areas, you know, are critical for the state right now, especially in the direction we want to go. So we want to make sure we continue to turn out the vote, make sure our voices are heard. Now, what I am seeing, though, is in some of the black areas in Newcastle County, they have some of the lowest turnout. So hopefully, if we're not coming out to early vote, we're coming out on election day.
Yeah.
November the 8th this year was not our only day to vote. It's our last day to vote.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even cut you off, but I think that's one of the things that we really need to try to push today is that, yes, this day, if you can go out, if you can get in a car, if you can grab a couple of people, why don't you go down and vote? This is really critical. There are people who have fought to get some early voting going so that African Americans could, and everyone, but people of color, to be able to vote in multiple times. A lot of times you couldn't get off work. A lot of times, you know, the jobs were discriminating and closing it down. But we have an opportunity to vote. Today is Souls to the Polls. You need to get out and vote. And today is the last day for early voting. Then we got to jump to Tuesday. But please, go vote. People fought. People cried. People were drugged into jails. And just so we can have this privilege. And we need to exit.
You have until 7 p.m. today to go vote.
Which is very short. You only got about a good 30 minutes.
So make sure you can go to the Department of Elections, elections.delaware.gov/information/election/voting locations, and you can find where else you can go vote if you're not in the Wilmington area or if that's a long drive for you. But please, please, please go vote. If you can't make it today, make sure you are at the polls on election day, November the 8th, Tuesday, November the 8th. It's not a presidential election, but you still have a lot of people who are fighting for you and will impact your day-to-day life who is on the ballot. That includes our U.S. Congress, Attorney General, State Treasurer, State Auditor. Every state senator and state rep is on the ballot, and then there's also various county positions that are also on the ballot as well too, based on where you live. So please, 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 you have a minimum of 6 elections that you can vote in and have your voice heard.
I think you've given it enough.
Yeah, but again, you know, it's so much on the line when it comes to November the 8th. This state is moving in the right direction. It may be slowly moving in the right direction, but it is moving in the right direction and trying its best to help those who are struggling the most. So please make sure you get out and go vote.
Well, in our next segment, we are going to probably spend some more time in this area because I don't think people understand it's more than just a presidential election. And Delaware is really, can I just say this, and then we're going to go to our break. Delaware is a deep blue state, but it can easily turn. One of the problems they were having in places like New York, where they thought it could never change, it could never turn, and they're up there fighting for their life in 2 major elections. But what I want to make sure that we share with everyone is that you have to vote beyond just when the President of the United States is on the ballot. You got to vote when you have a city council person, even though there's none of that going on right now, when there's a state representative. When I've been talking about this whole busing and everything else, we need to be voting every chance we get because people are going to jail to give us this privilege and this right. So we need to make sure that we are voting. We're going to come back on the Silent Storm. We're going to spend some time just talking about a few things that impact the African American community as well as the Latino community and with our vote. We'll be right back.
News all across the nation. Wilmington's latest headlines. Advocating for change in the community with Dr. C.T. Curry, Kobe Owens, and Shanae Darby. Tune in to The Source every Sunday at 5 p.m.
Tune in at 8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing E. Zion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
New guests, new conversations, new stories every Sunday at 11 a.m. Grab your cup of coffee and tune in with Dr. Curry for our weekly episodes of Coffee with Curry.
We're back. With the quiet storm today, because the election is on Tuesday, I just want to spend a little bit of time discussing back and forth with you about a lot of things that's on the line. We don't get a chance to talk about things like, and I know that you are a part of the Democratic committee or party here in the state, so I don't say anything, put you in any kind of predicaments that's going to cause you any problems, but do you really think Joe Biden is going to run again?
Yeah, I think, as of right now, from what I'm hearing and from what he has put out there, that he is gearing up for a second term to run. Is he going to be, is it going to be unopposed? I don't know that yet. I don't know if we have any viable candidates who would want to challenge a sitting Democratic president. Of course, there'll be, smaller people who want to run for it and will, and, the president will win, the primary overwhelmingly, but there is a movement with Democratic governors. The governor of Illinois, who is a billionaire himself, is trying to recruit someone to run right now. He does not want President Biden or Vice President Harris to run. He doesn't think that they could win re-election in 2024. And we saw him take the first steps of doing this. J.B. Pritzker took the first steps of overturning his own state party to make sure he had an ally there so that when he does this move in 2024, he's protected himself. And, you know, they voted out a black woman, Representative Robin Kelly, and replaced her with someone else.
Yeah. Now, this is the hard question. Do you think, given the climate that we're in, that he should run?
I think so. I think one, if you look at it, and this is the political nerd in me, right? Why we are dealing with inflation, we're still dealing with COVID, and he has very low approval ratings. Look at what he's been able to get done, right? Mm-hmm. And not only what he's been able to get done, but what he's been able to get done with a 50-50 Senate on a good day. Mm-hmm. On a good day. Because most of those days, you have to worry about Manchin or Sinema flipping and voting with the Republicans against him, and they have held up a lot of his progress. Then you look at the House. A 5-vote margin is very slim, especially with dealing with a pandemic, dealing with resignations, deaths of members. It has been as slim as, I think, 3 at one point, to as wide as 9 at other points. You have a lot that you have to deal with right now, and I think one of the things that go along with that is no other president has ever had to deal with that. When President Obama came in, and got the ACA, the American Health Care Act, right, through, or Obamacare, you know, that has been named. Mm-hmm. He has 60 U.S. senators. Yeah. 60. He had a filibuster-proof majority. Mm-hmm. He had, I think it was like a 30-seat margin in the House. And President Biden has gotten more, and he got one major piece of legislation through. President Biden has gotten more major pieces of legislation through with a 50-50 Senate and a 5-seat difference in the House than any other president. And that's not knocking other presidents.
Right, I understand what you're saying, but so then why do you think that his approval ratings is so low?
Because you still have to deal with inflation, price gouging, and he's trying to address that, but it's only so much you can do as president. You still need congressional approval. And for some of those other votes, you have to have more than just a simple majority. You have to have a 2/3 majority, which means you have to have the Republicans on board. And they know exactly what they're doing. Right. They know that if they give that to him, that will help his case for a second term. But it's very clear what their agenda is. Those MAGA Republicans who are down there in D.C., they do not care about the everyday American. They have said that multiple times when it comes to the Build Back Better, the child care tax credit, the fact that they want to put Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security on a chopping block every year. Every year. Yeah, we saw what happened when they did that with the Violence Against Women's Act, the assault weapons ban. They X'd those out. They have gutted the Voter Rights Act, right? So if they put those on a chopping block every single year, it takes one time for Congress to say, nope, we don't want this anymore. And everything you worked hard for. I don't get Social Securities right now. I hope that is there when I get to that age. Right. But I have parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins who do. So when I go to vote, I'm not just voting for myself. I'm voting to make sure that their livelihood keeps going on, that they continue to get Social Security. Yeah. Because once it's cut, we're done.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was just wondering, but I also noticed that when he pulled out of that war, it really ticked off some people to a level where they just could not stomach him anymore. Do you think that Biden has damaged Harrison?
Yes, I think no matter what. See, here's the thing. People people have seen multiple president and vice president duos. And I'm just going to be honest, there was never a president and vice president like Barack Obama and Joe Biden.
Okay.
So people were thinking, all right, well, since we still have Joe Biden, it's going to be the same. It's not, right? But no matter what, in a political realm, your vice president is tied to your president for the rest of their political career.
I see.
And I think that was something that the Harris campaign and team had to weigh when accepting this. Now, if his numbers change and he decides not to run, but he has higher approval, that sets her up perfectly to run. But if his numbers are low, then it does not give her a good opportunity to then run for president. Now, what she could do is take a gap, let someone else run. If they don't win, then she runs to rebuild her approval rating. But it's a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah. And that's why I'm asking you some direct questions. Now, there's a whole lot of investigations going on. Most of them are centered around Trump. What's on the line, I think, out of all, the reason why I've talked to everybody I know, all my family is in Pennsylvania, all of my immediate family, and I'm making sure everybody get out there and vote, is because what I think is on the line is democracy.
Yeah.
Now, Trump is involved with a lot of investigations. Do you really believe that if the Democrats lose the House, all that goes away?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they stop all those investigations that are coming from that end. But you're still going to have others that are going to be ongoing, right?
Yeah.
The local district prosecutors who are going at them in Georgia, who just opened up the window for people to sue his institution, which is Rudy Giuliani, for the false election claims, right? You have Tish James up in New York that's going to continue her investigation and lawsuit as well too. So you're still going to have other entities that are going to continue. It's just not going to be on the federal level.
Do you think Donald Trump is going to run?
Absolutely.
You really think
Absolutely.
He is?
I think he is probably going to announce before the end of this year. He's been wanting to announce that he was going to run, but people are literally in his party are begging him not to do it before the election, and I think it's been very hard for him to. But he is taking all the right steps to run again, and he's going at his potential rivals as well too.
Yeah.
He has cleared house in the U.S. Senate of individuals that have spoken out against him, and most recently, Ben Sasse knows he's not going to get reelected. Decided that he was going to take the job as the University of Florida's president and leave the U.S. Senate, right? He voted to impeach Donald Trump. Most of the members of the House who voted to impeach Donald Trump either chose not to run for re-election or they lost their re-election campaign.
Wow. So Donald Trump will probably run. Do you think that's one of Biden's motivations to run again, or you just think he just want to run?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle. We're going to see it come down to the wire again.
And who wins?
I think Biden wins, but by a smaller margin than he did before.
So that opens up the door for stop the steal.
Right. I think, what's going to happen is this midterm is going to be so critical, right? And I'm more than willing to have this conversation next week as well, too, once I know the election results. Not of, who has the Senate, who has the House, how many governors won, but who are the Secretary of States and who's going to be appointing the Secretary of State. So some of the governors,
right.
Because those are the people who have the say over the Department of Elections in certifying the results, right? In Georgia, in Arizona, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, so many critical places. And we talked about this maybe about 7 months ago on the show. Trump understands that he could have had the power to overturn the elections if he had the Secretary of State on his side. And he has targeted those positions or the positions that nominate the people who oversee that department in every single state that's up this year.
Wow. And do you think that Trump at this point will well, you said you feel that Biden would win.
Yes.
And Trump will lose. Do you think we have another January 6th?
I think they try, yeah. I think they try again.
Why won't the president of the United States just be ignorant like Trump for a little while to get the people feeling good and let Trump know that we have an army bigger than his army, and if I need to deploy him, I will do so?
Because I think, President Biden tries to bring that respect back to the office. And when Michelle Obama said it best, when they go low, we go high. Even though it's hard sometimes, but I think, to show that we are a stable government and that we're not going to get pulled into petty battles like that, I think that's why he's stopping us saying that. Everyone knows it already. Yeah. And you best believe once we have, once we are back in that light again, I think we're going to see them make it very clear leading up to the inauguration. We will have the Maryland, Virginia, and D.C. National Guard on standby. And probably some other states will send National Guards as well.
Last question, we're out of time. Do you think, give me your projection, will the Democrats who Cheney is supporting,
yes,
will they win?
Honestly, I don't know if her support for them changes anything, right? Okay. So in my eyes, and this is not a knock towards her, but any Republican who sees her endorsement of them was probably already voting for that Democrat, right? And any Democrat that sees that is already probably voting for that Democrat running, especially in Michigan. I think the seat is a little more bluer than people are thinking. I think, in that House seat, in the Senate seats, maybe that may help. But also, I believe she endorsed Val Demings and Tim Ryan. Val Demings has a huge hill to climb, especially with Trump being right down there, DeSantis being on the ticket in Florida. But Ohio, I think there is a chance. Again, there is a coalition that has been done. In 2018, it's been done multiple times with Sherrod Brown, the Democratic senator, senior senator there. He has built it, and it starts with making sure you turn out that labor force and those unions to vote Democratic.
Okay, you're giving me a lot of information I wanted, but next week we're going to really get into it. I got one more question. I said I was going to give you one more, but every time you throw me somewhere else. Who wins this, Walker or Warnock?
I am praying.
Oh, no, give me a prediction.
I am praying
give me
that
a
Reverend
prediction.
Warnock. I think
you know what's going on out there.
I think it's going to be the slimmest margin of them all, but I think Warnock will pull it out. But unfortunately, I think Stacey will lose. I think, you'll have more Kemp Warnock voters than you will Warnock Walker Abrams voters.
Okay, I was going to ask you that last question. Look,
but we will, hopefully, by this time next week, we will have our third black governor, and that will be my friend Wes Moore down in Maryland. Hopefully, he will be the third black governor this nation has seen.
Amen. And I look forward to that happening. Next week, we're going to really get into the politics. So if you really want to hear various angles on the various things of what happened, tune in next week. It has been a great show. Listen, Ezion Fair celebrating its homecoming this weekend. Thanks to all of you who have come by and joined us. We're 103 years old, and we consider ourselves one of Wilmington's historically black churches. So continue to join us and support us. Brother Kobe, thank you for what you do. We miss Sister Sinead today. We miss, we're one team here. We miss Sister Sinead today. We're appreciative that she served our country to the level that she does. And I'll say to you, this is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
See ya.
Souls to the polls, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Source. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 5 p.m.